Fruitful Living with Sissel Anderson. Here on Morning Joy, where truth matters.
Welcome back to Morning Joy, where truth matters. I'm your host, Keith Downey, and we're talking love redux, particularly focusing on eros and how music, film, and just media in general really gets this wrong.
But yeah, I wanted to recap on love again, because we talked about it last week specifically. You know, there's different kinds of love and how the opposite of love is use. But I was thinking about it more this past week. There is a lot in our media that really, really kind of damages our perception of love. And particularly, I'll point out a couple of examples, but it's really easy. I mean, okay, some people who might struggle with this, it may not be easy, but I think the idea, we can grasp the idea that, the one way we can use people is through lust. Lust takes, love gives, lust forces, love receives, lust divides, and love bonds. We're like, okay, I think I've got that. But there are like much more subtle ways that media kind of takes us through this. By the way, the opposite of love being used is from JP2 in what was his book? Is a precursor to Theology of the Body. His Theology of the Body talks. Off the top of my head, I don't remember the name. Of course, Love and Responsibility. That's the one. And so in media, and particularly in like some of our songs and music, and even back, honestly, some people will always point out that stuff is happening today, but I am a lover of old movies and old music, and they were just as bad sometimes about taking advantage of people and using people in songs sometimes, and being very, just irresponsible with people's feelings. Let's put it that way. But as an example, I feel like I've become this person who we're watching a movie or we're listening to a song, and I'm just like, what are these people thinking? What are they doing to each other? This is awful. You are treating each other so badly. There was a really popular song that kind of like made its way through the internet a couple years ago, because that's now how songs get really popular, is they become little snippets on little videos and things like that across the internet. But it's called Glimpse of Us. And if on the surface you hear it and it sounds really pretty, it's like a dramatic, pretty song. But you listen to the chorus, just listen to this and see if you can get where maybe the problem with this song and a lot of songs nowadays is, because sometimes I look in her eyes and that's where I find a glimpse of us. Cool. Awesome. And I try to fall for her touch, but I'm thinking the way it was, and I'm saying I'm fine and I moved on, but I'm only here passing time in her arms, hoping I'll find a glimpse of us. I don't know if you're getting what's happening here, but this guy is talking about looking in this girl he's currently dating and thinking about a girl he previously was dating. Oh. And this became a really, really popular song, because that's like accepted, that this idea that there's this special one person. And once you have this like connection with this one person, you're never going to have that again. And no other relationship is ever going to hold up to that. And that's such a dangerous way of thinking, because you're going to use so many people. Because what if that one special relationship doesn't work out? And it often doesn't, because you've put so much into it and you're making it become this holy grail. It's kind of the whole soulmate thing. Soulmate, that the idea of, we use the term soulmate can be used in a lot of different ways, but the idea, the Disney princess, like you've got to find one day your prince will come and he's this very specific guy. But that's just not how love works. That's not how God has set up love. He hasn't put aside this one person that in 8 billion people we have to go out and find. This very specific person, and like, I hope you don't get the wrong one, and that is just not exactly how that works. And it's really awful when we kind of build up this idea that this one person's going to come into our lives, and until then we're kind of just dating other people, or you think about these classic like some Hallmark, even what movies can edge on this too, even though Hallmark movies are generally pretty clean, some of the themes can be really bad. These romance movies where, these people, they were in love, they dated for a while, life, or that they themselves chose to, step away from each other, and then they come back into each other's lives years later, and one of them's in a relationship, but it's suddenly like, oh, but this person's back, this was the one, so it's okay if I like leave the person I'm with now because that was my, this was my person. I was just waiting for them. This is the person I'm really supposed to be with. And I'm like, no, that's not how love works. It's a choice. You choose to love someone, and think about that poor person. Honestly, when they do get together, I'm like, you deserved each other because you're both awful. Don't, it's okay. It's better that you are all together than hurting someone else. But that's just kind of accepted. I don't know, Keith, have you ever seen that? It's just kind of accepted in our culture that that's how it works.
Yeah, no, it's funny, and sometimes in those Hallmark movies, it's like they try to make the other significant other like not likable, and it's like, well, that's why. It's because he's kind of a jerk, and it's like
he's with someone who isn't appreciating him.
Yeah, like, well, come on. And then the music as well. I didn't really think about that. Like, words do matter, and they have an impact, and especially that song you mentioned. Like, I didn't really think too much into the lyrics. I wasn't really even knew the lyrics to the song. I was just like, oh, this has got a nice tune to it.
Right. No, it is, and it's like one of those things where there are obviously some really bad songs that are in movies that are just full of vulgar, awful things that you just don't need to be listening to, and that's really obvious. And I'm not necessarily saying that you can't listen to these songs, but I think an awareness when you're listening or watching movies of that was a bad choice, or this person is treating people awfully. I mean, you listen to musicals all the time, and there's characters being played, and their songs are saying awful things, but you know that because they're terrible characters, and you know they're the bad guy. So sometimes you have to listen to these songs and be like, this person's the bad guy. Cool song, but they're the bad guy. They're not the good guy in this circumstance, So it's just an awareness. And again, it's really easy to see the very obvious stuff in lyrics that are just like, oh, that's just bad. But these things do integrate into our brains. And I think a lot of young people, I remember when I was in a youth group, when I was like 17 or something, we had a girls' night, and that was one of the topics that came up because one of the girls asked our leader, she's just like, oh man, what do you think about like soulmates and stuff like that? And she's just like, she's like, well, funny story. Let me tell you about that. There's no such thing. And oh man, their dreams were crushed. They're like, what do you mean? Disney told me this. Like, this is what I grew up with, someday my prince will come. And she's like, well, no, you got to put a little more work into it than that. But yeah, so it just highlights the need for really, really good music.
Yeah, as a guy, I was on kind of the opposite spectrum where it's like someone like essentially is like, you're my Prince Eric. I'm like, hold on a second. I'm a prince now. I have all this.
You're like, hang on.
That's a heavy thing to put on somebody.
we just went for coffee.
That was it. Just coffee. And now I'm a prince. You're Prince Eric. Hold on. Like, that expectation is too high.
And I'm sure some guys can fall into it too, but it definitely, I think from a female side, it kind of falls into, I think girls struggle with this a little bit more because we have that, you see a guy in mass and you're like, whoa, I imagine my life with 12 kids with you. Like, and then you find out he's a seminarian and you have to go on. But yeah, it's kind of that idea of you see someone and you're like, oh yes, you decide, I feel this thing. We talked last week that feelings are important, but they're not the end all be all, especially when it comes to love. Because we're not, if I was basing all my decisions purely on when I love something, I wouldn't be doing a lot. I don't love doing the dishes. If I only did them when I loved doing the dishes, my dishes would never be done.
No.
Yeah, it's kind of a slippery slope we can get ourselves into. So it's just something maybe it's almost fun for me now sometimes to listen to songs or to watch movies and just be. My friends probably want to like throw something at me while I'm throwing something at the screen because I'm like, what are you doing, people? This is a really bad idea. You're making terrible choices. Jesus doesn't love you like this. He wants more from you. Yeah, I'm a joy to watch movies with.
I was about to say, we need to have like a Sissel reviews segment or something where you listen to
really
something. You just let us know. Is this good? Does this have a true love, or is this, society's version of love? I don't know.
That would be really funny. I do, I like watching like romance drama sometimes and things like that, but either they get too sappy or they get too like that. Every once in a while when you find like a gem, you're like, oh my gosh, this is like an accurate, like a good relationship advice, actually. So yeah, maybe coming soon to the Guadalupe Radio Network.
Hey, there you go.
Music and media, and lets you know, no, don't be like them. Not that I know all things. It's really, thankfully, I've been blessed by people in life to help me, point me in the right direction sometimes when you hear or see something, just to kind of inform your mind a little bit better.
I mean, aside from just kind of staying away from the media itself, do you like have any recommendations for people to kind of maybe deal with this type of? Yeah.
To deal with this, well, I think first and foremost, again, is just kind of understanding God's plan for love for when it comes to like eros romance. And to do that, you first have to understand just love from God, and to graciously accept that love that God has given you, and understanding that how he treats you is how you should treat others. So just kind of bringing it down first to your relationship with God. And that kind of stabilizes you a lot, so that when you are going into these relationships, it's not your end-all be-all. That person's not my happiness. So that if it doesn't work out with that one person that I really think it should, it's not going to destroy my life if it doesn't. Because at the end of the day, my one true love is Jesus. So I would say that's a good way to reorder your brain, because a lot of people, the problem with a lot of these songs and things like that is everyone's putting everything into that relationship.
Wow. Well put, Sissel. Thank you so much. We can find you every Friday as well on Back to the Father at 1 p.m. Central on GRN Online YouTube. But that's the end of our first hour. I'd like to thank all of those who were listening to us, especially on Aquinas Communications, and maybe those who are going to Mass. But hey, we've got a lot coming up on our second hour. We're going to talk with Adam Stinchula, so stay tuned right after this break.
This has been Morning Joy, where truth matters, hosted by Keith Downey. Take some joy with you today. Visit grnonline.com/joy to listen again, share a segment, or answer the question of the day. That's grnonline.com/joy.